take a turn.
Peaked.
We definitely need some self-help.
Oh, congrats. That's the theme.
You earned it. Welcome back to another episode of Read Between the Wines. And today we're talking
Self-help.
And that's weirdly one of my favorite genres to read that's not fiction, right? Like, I'm always going to choose fiction first.
Yes.
Fiction first all the time. But if I want to feel like I've done something with my reading time, it's a self-help book.
You could have ended that sentence at, if I want to feel.
If I want to feel self-help. But also, for me, self-help is so wide of a genre. Because if you're doing something, or if it's a book that's doing or teaching me something, or telling me something about a better way to think, a better way to feel, a better way to exist, to me, that's self-help.
Yeah, as we were discussing this topic, I was like, I don't know that the books I'm going to bring up are necessarily, quote unquote, like found on the self-help section.
Right.
But they have helped myself.
Myself feels helped.
As we're moving forward, as we're learning new things, as we're sparking creativity, and that feels like self-help. And I will say this was my very first favorite genre. This is where I dove deep, and every book I read was self-help, was business help, was something to make me a better person. And I feel like, we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth, but I feel like I've read so many that now I'm just disappointed in a lot of them. Because I gravitate towards the same books.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily learning new things. And then I'm like, oh, this was a waste of my time.
Yeah. And I think that's one that we'll discuss probably more in depth when we get to the ones we didn't like. Spoiler alert. That's the next episode.
Exactly.
But I think there's a big discussion to be had there, because it's not necessarily that I hated something, but that it wasn't helpful. It didn't live up to the help part of the self. Like,
yes.
I feel unhelped.
Correct. But that is not today.
That is not today. No.
Today we're talking about what we loved about self-help books. Which ones, why, what really helped us on our growth journey. I know we're both very big in our growth, so this is going to be an exciting episode.
Agreed. What are the top things that you need to have in a self-help book for it to be like top tier?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's a different opinion.
Okay.
A different way of thinking. Because all I know is what's in my little world, what's in my purview. And until someone offers me another opinion, I don't know. I only know what I know.
I know what I know, and I know what I like.
I don't know what I don't know. So I love a book that challenges me, that shows me another way of looking at things, of thinking of things, because I really think that's where the growth is when it challenges you. So I really do look for things that are outside of my comfort zone, something I know that maybe I would like to work on, but I don't know how, or don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I feel like that's the theme. Like, I don't know. And so I will find topics that I'm wanting to work on. And then from there, I just need it to be something I haven't heard before.
Right. Something that's new.
Yes.
I need an interactive piece.
Oh, okay.
I need something that I can do, right? I need an actionable piece of something. So but that doesn't go so far as to be like every single self-help that I read is a journal, right? That's not it. There are certain self-help where I'm like, I clearly don't need that. I just need to see your perspective, and I need you to give me examples of how you have done it or how you found success in it, so that I can then apply that in my own space.
Yes.
So it's a doing. For me, a self-help book is something that I'm going to do, or I'm going to learn, or I'm going to incorporate.
That is true. Yes. Because to make the changes, you have to
do the work. I have to practice. And I'm not big on the practice piece, because I'm like, I just want it to happen. I just want it to be done.
And that's very true, because if you're just reading a book, then you don't really have to bring it into your world.
No.
You're just learning, and you're like, yeah, I understand this in theory.
Yep.
But if you want to apply it to your life, so true. That's a good point.
So I love... not my favorite, but I'm going to mention it anyways. Atomic Habits was one that I really enjoyed, but it was more talking to me or talking at me versus having me change the way I did things.
Yes.
So is Atomic Habits a book that I'll recommend? Yeah, sure. But is it going to be the top book that I recommend? No. And it also depends on what portion of the self you're trying to help.
Right.
Like, am I trying to help my connection? Am I trying to help my ability to understand, the inside of my brain? Am I trying to change the way that I behave? What am I trying to help? There's so many different options.
What are you helping?
What you need help with? Where you need the help, what you going to do?
Yes. So along the lines of Atomic Habits, not one I'm going to talk about, but one I enjoyed as a good reminder book, How to Get the Fuck Unstuck.
Ooh,
that was a good one. And that was a good reminder, but you are correct. It doesn't have the piece, the practice piece.
Nope.
So.
Yeah. Daily Stoic is the same way.
Yes.
I love Daily Stoic. It's one that you can read that one over and over again, right? Like, because it's a daily book and it goes through the year and you have one page for each day or whatever it is. And it's really great reminders, but it doesn't give me anything to do.
Yes.
It causes me to pause, which I liked, which I needed. But I like books like that as well, where to be a top tier, give me something to do. To be on my list, be evergreen.
Yeah.
Like something I can revisit. Because I can revisit, and I don't revisit a ton of books.
No.
But I revisit Daily Stoic, I revisit Atomic Habits, and the other two that I will share that are favorites of mine. I revisit those.
Interesting. I don't revisit a whole lot of books, and I don't revisit especially self-help books.
Right.
Because once I know. I don't
have to read it again.
And I don't have to read it again. Or I think I don't have to read it again. I might have to read it again.
But do you share them, right? Like after,
yes.
See,
absolutely.
I'll get somebody their own copy.
Yes.
Right? So I will keep my copy of it because I'm like, what if I want to go back because I need to reread that piece? Like, oh, this is a piece in my brain where I was like, hey, that really stuck out to me. What do I do now? Sometimes I have to go back and reread that. So I do keep my copy of self-help books that I liked.
I actually upgraded the favorite that I'm going to share. I found a hardcover copy. And I was like, okay, because I would pick up this book for other people. And I'd be like, you have to read this. And here there's no excuse because I'm giving you your
I'm
own
also
copy.
handing you a copy.
You don't even have to go look for it. And then I found a hardcover copy and I was like, mine. Because I already knew I was going to save it forever. I read it yearly. And I passed along my copy. So that's how you know that that's a great book.
So what is your book?
Ooh, okay.
What did it tell me? You've already set it up so nicely.
I know. I've set it up so
I was like,
well.
you set it up beautifully.
So this is one of those that I don't know that it's found on the self-help shelf.
Fair.
Unknown. But it's Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I love this book. I do not reread books. However, this book I read every year. I usually start my year with it. I read it with a sticky note pad and a pen because I will not write in my books.
Especially a hardcover.
Especially a hardcover.
The new hardcover, absolutely not.
Even if it's my favorite book ever, and I'm going to keep it forever, I will not write in it. So I have notes. I make notes.
Fair.
But it's amazing to me every year when I read this, what is triggered. So it's a book on sparking creativity, finding new ideas everywhere, all around you. It's an amazing reminder to look for the magic everywhere and just to be open to it. And like I said, I read it. I have Post-it notes stuck throughout. I get so many downloads that come through when I'm reading this book about other things, feelings, where I feel stuck. It'll come through. It's a brilliant book. I have recommended it to 3 or 4 people in the past month.
Me.
You got my copy.
I did
buy you a copy, yes.
Yes, and I read it January of this year as well.
Yeah.
And nodding vigorously over here because
Yes.
everything that you said it's a really good book.
Yes.
I thought I didn't know if I was going to like the way that she wrote, like her writing style. I was like, oh, we'll see. And then like as she continued to talk, I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm in. I'm
Yes.
sold.
So you might recognize the name. She did write Eat, Pray, Love, which I did not like. I do not like her other books.
Which is fair.
But this book, I mean, pure magic.
Pure magic for big magic.
For big magic. It is fantastic. Highly recommend.
Yes.
And if you haven't read it, I would love to know. Pick up a copy.
Yes.
Definitely pick up a copy. Highly recommend to everyone. And the people that I've talked to, I think it's written in a way for creative-minded people, and it may be a little skewed towards creators, business people, you know, you're launching your own business, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I have recommended it to non-creators, and they all get something different out of it, which I love, because I did recommend it to a friend, and then I realized, oh, she's not creating anything. She's not really making any other like business things. She's not doing outside of like being a mom and having a corporate job. And then I thought, ooh, I don't know.
Is she going to get out of it?
Because,
is it going to be so moving for her? Because her focus is different. It's not to say that if you're not a creator, it's not going to work for you, or that you're missing out on something, because there are people who are not the creative type. They find their passions elsewhere. They find their fire in their 9-to-5, in their corporate job, in their parenthood. Like there's an opportunity for everyone. And I think with this book, you can still, you know, find that creativity in other outlets that don't have to make you money.
And it was very cool, because she texted me and got this idea. She had just recently purchased a home, and she painted. She's like, I don't know if this is what she had in mind in Big Magic, and she showed me she painted her front door pink.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, yes.
Right.
I just got chills. I'm like, yes.
You're like, yes, that's it. You did it.
That is exactly what this is about.
Right.
And so it's very interesting to see what other people get out of it. Yes. So I love this book. Highly, highly recommend to everyone.
Perfect.
That's mine.
That's a good pull. And I can agree, because I read it.
Yes. Yes, I made sure of that.
Right? And I enjoyed reading it, and I enjoyed not flying through it. It's not one that I just read through to like put on my list. I took my time, and I did take notes, and I did underline things, and it's one of the only ones that I will write in.
Yep.
Because other people had written in it first.
Yep.
And so it worked. So I enjoyed it to that point, and the fact that I do feel like I'm going to read it again next year.
Yes. It's an annual visit.
Because I would love to see what I do find out of it next year.
Right.
Being in a different place, right? Because the growth we experience throughout the year changes who we are and how we think. Exactly. Not necessarily always drastically, but enough that I could find something new.
But enough. That's all you need, is just that small shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very curious.
Small shifts, big waves.
That's true. That is true.
It is.
So now I'm curious, because you've got me interested in books that have a practice piece to it. So I'm curious, what do you have on your list?
So I guess mine is like a twofer, kind of. They kind of go together, right? But they were written like a year or two apart. And they definitely, I don't think they're necessarily self-help as much as they are productivity books.
Okay.
Which I do put in the self-help category.
Yes.
Right? Because if I'm changing the way that I have a routine, it's definitely helping myself.
Helping the self.
It's helping the self. And so that's why I'm choosing that one. So the book that I would start to recommend is Good Morning, Good Life.
Okay.
By Amy Schmittauer, who's now Amy Landino. Okay. Who's actually a friend of mine.
Yes.
And I don't feel bad saying that because I love her book, right? I'm also super partial to it, and I'm going to say it out loud right now so that we all have it all on the table. She was kind enough, I was working with her at the time that she was writing it, and she was kind enough to include me in the book. So there's a small feature about my morning routine in the book, because she had interviewed a whole bunch of different people and said, like, hey, what do your morning routines look like? What are the things that are important to you? How do you start your day? And even now, going back, that was 2018, I want to say, maybe.
I thought you were going to say that was 20 years ago.
No. 20, no, like 2018 probably. I could be wrong on the date, but I do know that my routine has changed so drastically from that it's actually really cool to go back and see what was my routine,
right?
You know, almost 6 years ago. So with the Good Morning, Good Life, it's interesting to see where I was and where I am now, and what pieces I kept, because there are certain things that I kept, and what pieces I totally abandoned because they don't work anymore. And the fact that my life is in a very different place. It looks completely different than it did 6 years ago. Yeah. My kids are bigger. My expectations are higher. My responsibilities are completely different. So it's very cool to see how that has changed. But it was also really nice to go through the book itself and talk about the importance of starting your day however you start your day. Yes. And it's not always about the morning. Some people are not morning people. I'm a morning people, right? And I'm a morning person in the fact that I have to be awake in the morning. Yeah. My most productive time is like 8 a.m. to like, well, if we're going to say it, it's probably 10 to 2.
Oh, same.
10 to 2. Like
same.
if you catch me at 10 to 2, I'm
highly
on it, right?
Productivist time of the
Right?
day.
I am a productive princess at that point because I'm like, I've got it all done, right?
Yep.
At 2:01, that's a tomorrow problem.
Yes.
But that means that technically I can ease into my day, should we not have like school responsibilities or swim practice or whatever it is. There are certain things that I still like to do as part of my morning routine, and the book is basically about starting your morning in a way that honors you and what you need, not necessarily just scrolling your phone.
Yes.
Because I find for me, if I jump on, I do still, turn off my alarm, which is my phone, and then open it up and check my email. I shouldn't do that. And so kind of getting out of that routine is nice and a good reminder to better set my mental and physical space up in a way that benefits me for the rest of the day.
Right. Because, and I've heard it say that if you get up, that's the time that the tone of your day gets set. Mm-hmm. And so if you're on social media, maybe there's a whole lot of drama happening. Mm-hmm. You're already in like turmoil,
right?
Mental turmoil. Yeah. And so your day may feel very chaotic as you move forward. But if you start your day filling your own cup, I know that's very cliche.
Right. No, but I love a good filled cup.
Right.
Because I can't pour in anybody else's. I can't pour to anybody else's if I'm not full on my own.
Right.
And I'm not pouring from my cup. I'm pouring from the cup next to me that I have overflowed into.
Right.
So I'm not going to pour from my own cup because that's to benefit me. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think, and especially with the checking the email, if I'm checking my email first thing and I've gotten something from somebody who needs my attention right away, there's nothing in my line of business that's an emergency.
Right.
I shouldn't be checking my email at 6 a.m.
Correct.
Right? I shouldn't. And so I have to get back into that way of doing it. Alongside that, and along the same vein of the Daily Stoic, so Amy and her best friend Sarah actually came out with a book called 365 Days of Good Morning, Good Life. And it's a daily little reminder of something. It's just a few paragraphs.
Yes.
And it goes through everything. It goes through your mental, the way you start your day mentally, the way you think about your confidence, your routines, your spirituality. So it goes through all these different things, and not necessarily in chunks, but by month.
Nice.
And so it'll say, it'll be something different every day, but there's a quote, there's a reminder, there's something to think about. And so being able to go through that is one that I will write in. I highlight the parts that I will highlight the parts that I found important, or make a little note in that, because this book is mine. Right. And I will not share this one. I will buy different ones for other people, but I don't share that copy because that's one that I revisit over and over again.
I love that.
So that one came out more recently.
Yeah.
And the juxtaposition of both Amy's life and Sarah's life, being best friends, being, newer moms, being all of those things, has been really nice to see how they bring forward some of their ideas into different ways and different reminders. And it's funny that sometimes, there are certain ones, like, it'll come in, it's like, hey, let's talk about the way you think about finance, the way you think about your money. Like, that was one of the mornings, and I was like, oh gosh, like, it's not
too early for that.
But at the same time, it's not something that we worry about all the time, because it's how we do what we do. But it was also like hey, maybe don't give all of your power to, like, don't tie it all to your finances.
Yes.
And so how can you break apart from that? Because even if you had everything you needed, you would still have other things to worry about. So it's things like that I don't necessarily take the time to think about, because it's just an everyday in my life. So it's a nice, complement to the book itself. Right. And so I was like, I love that we can have the book itself and we can have the 365 days that kind of go together. So I always recommend those two guys together.
Yes. And it's a gentle reminder on like how to guide your thoughts
for
the day. And that, yes, you might always have finances on your mind, but when you're purposefully thinking about them in a way, that kind of gives you your power back.
Yeah, because you're not spiraling.
Right.
Just the thought of, I have my mortgage due or whatever it might be. That's a stressful thought that can spiral. Versus, the day you do pay your mortgage, I paid my mortgage. I have my house. My house is fine.
Congrats! I have a place to live for the next 30 days.
Right, but it's one of those things that we don't always take advantage of, where we go, oh, I had to pay that. Versus, oh my gosh, I paid that.
Yes,
I'm so happy that I did, and now that we're here and we're safe and we have a base.
Yep, exactly.
So highly recommend those two. Those are my twofer. My one for two.
I had a thought. I was like, you know what? I was really torn on sharing the other one that I'm currently reading. So I also have really enjoyed an EFT tapping book.
Oh, yeah.
That has been my newest obsession. is learning about different modalities of healing,
Yep.
of dealing with issues. And for those who don't know, EFT tapping is emotional freedom technique.
I can't ever remember. I just know the letters. I can't remember what they go with.
We're
going to go with yes.
We'll correct that if it's not. But we
No,
call
we
it
won't.
tapping.
We'll just call it tapping.
We call it tapping. And basically it's like energetic acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
So you tap along energy points within your body to clear stuck energy as you vocalize worries or doubts or things that you are trying to bring up. So in a world where we're always taught to be optimistic and like, don't focus on the negative, like be very positive and only make sure you're saying things in the affirmative. And it's a reminder that like, it's okay to face those negative things and to clear them. And that's like really how you deal with scary things, is you look directly at them.
Yeah.
So I know I probably didn't do it justice, like with the full in-depth of what it was, but that's what it is for me. And I've been learning so much and diving into that. So I feel like this is a book that I'm going to come back and visit and reread. And it's definitely one I recommend.
I may need to take a look at that one because I don't think I have any tapping ones. I have one that I'm working on right now, which is a breathwork book.
Yes.
Which I love.
So powerful.
Except that when I do the practice part, right, that has a practice part. It's like, hey, do this, close your eyes, breathe like this, count like this. It's very easy to follow, right? And I think I got it at like Five Below, to be honest with you. Because Five Below actually has a really great
They have a great
section,
selection of those.
especially of like just the breath work, the chakras, the whatever.
Healing,
like as a Reiki practitioner, that stuff very much appeals to me.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, I'll work on the breath work because I know I don't breathe fully into my body. I know that I don't. I can take shallow breaths, especially when I'm busy or stressed or whatever. And like, I think I got to the first or second chapter and it was like, okay, like put the book down for a second, like follow these steps. I followed the steps, fell asleep for half an hour. And I was like, I don't know that was the purpose, but it's clearly what my body needed.
It was very powerful.
It worked very well. But then I was like, okay, so I need to make sure that when I go to read this book and to do the action pieces, the practice pieces, maybe do it at a time where you don't have like a phone call next.
Maybe, yes. When you have some open space. Yeah. And maybe right before bed.
Maybe it's a morning thing. Or
maybe right before bed.
Right before bed. That'll make that work. So.
Yes.
But I think the self-help ones that I usually fall in line with have to do with productivity, or they have to do with routine, or they have to do with clearing and creating a healthy space.
Yes.
Those are my self-help ones usually.
Yeah. I think that's what I also look for in a book.
Yeah. I think there are other self-help books. There's one, there's a couple I've read before, which we'll probably talk about in the next episode, where I was kind of like I understand it, but it's not for me. Right. It doesn't work for me.
Right.
And any book that tells me to smile, I'm not into.
Ew.
It's like, smile more. I'm like,
and now I just really don't want to.
Right?
Because you told me to do it.
But that's the other piece. That's the other piece, though. Getting past that part of like, oh, it told me to do this, so now I don't want to. I have to be in the right mindset to read a self-help book.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I am completely jaded by it. And I'm like, how dare you tell me to manifest positively? Because now I'm going to burn it all. Like, no, maybe don't.
Absolutely
and that's
not.
A character flaw in me, that there may be a self-help book out there that can help. But I know it about myself.
Until you're ready to hear it, it's not going to work.
Right? It's not going to change unless you're ready to change it.
Yes. Yeah.
A quote from Cindy O'Hara.
Shout out.
Look her up. There's such a vast number of self-help books.
Yes. There's so many topics that.
Yeah, you have to kind of figure out what corner of the genre you like.
Right.
And it's okay to pop around to different places until you kind of find your home that works for you right now.
Yeah.
Because it may not work for you in a year, it may not work for you in 5 years. You might be into something else.
Right. Definitely grab something that aligns with you. So let us know.
Yeah.
What are you interested in? What are you learning? What are you helping the self through?
How do you help self?
How do you help self?
And what do you recommend to other people if somebody's saying, hey, I'm, looking for something that's going to light me up a little bit? What is the book what is your go-to?
Yes. What are you loving?
And we'll see you on the next episode where we talk about the ones that absolutely did not work for us. And I have a doozy.
Oh, I'm so ready. I got a list of these.
Right? We'll see you next time.
Bye.
It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine. Also, if you're the review type person, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us an honest review on your favorite podcast player. Or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!